Imagine this. One day the music just stops. No warning, no dramatic announcement, just silence. Every coffee shop, every grocery store aisle, every gym floor, every bar on a Saturday night suddenly feels like the same chilling quiet. Men aren't staring anymore. They aren't approaching anymore. They aren't sliding into DMs, buying drinks, offering to carry the groceries, or even making small talk at the checkout line. The background hum of male attention that women have heard their entire lives, the hum they were told was oppressive, creepy, toxic, and unwanted, has vanished overnight. And now the same voices that spent years screaming, "Leave me alone," are screaming something entirely different. They're screaming, "Why won't anybody talk to me?" If you stick around until the very end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly why millions of men came to the same conclusion at the exact same time, why no amount of crying, begging, or shaming will ever bring us back, and why this quiet male exit is the most powerful, irreversible shift you will witness in your lifetime. If you're new here or you've been riding with me for a while, do me a quick favor right now. Smash that like button, share this video with every man you know who needs to hear the truth, hit subscribe, and most importantly, click that notification bell and select all so you never miss a single upload the second it drops. We're building something real community here for men who are done playing a rigged game. Also, if you want to actually protect the wealth you're working so hard for and learn how to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency the right way without getting wrecked by scams or market chaos, go check out Angry's Crypto Academy. The full academy is linked in the description below. Click it, enroll, and start safeguarding your money today because nobody else is going to do it for you. And finally, if these videos are hitting home and you want to keep the Angry Guy channel fueled and firing on all cylinders, you can buy me a Red Bull with the link in the description. Every can keeps the truth coming. Now let's get into it. Picture a woman in her late 20s or early 30s, maybe even younger, sitting alone in her apartment on a Friday night. The city lights are blinking outside her window, music is thumping from somewhere down the street, and her phone is completely silent. No new matches, no random hey from an old flame, no likes on the story she spent 20 minutes perfecting, nothing. She opens TikTok and starts recording through tears. "I swear, men don't even look at me anymore. I'm not ugly, I have a good job. I go to the gym. Why is nobody approaching me?" Within hours, that video has hundreds of thousands of likes and thousands of women in the comments saying the exact same thing. "Same girl." It's like men disappeared. "I haven't been on a real date in 2 years." And then, almost like clockwork, a celebrity woman worth tens or hundreds of millions of dollars posts the same complaint. Willow Smith, daughter of Will and Jada, sitting in a mansion most of us will never even drive past, telling the world that men are scared to approach her. Let that sink in for a second. A woman who has literally everything society told her she needed: fame, money, looks, status, and still no man is walking up to say hello. That is how complete the male exit has become. These are the same women, or at least the same ideology, that spent the last 15 to 20 years telling men to leave us alone. Don't talk to us. Don't look at us. Don't even breathe in our direction unless we give you a written invitation signed in triplicate. They called a glance the male gaze and labeled it violence. They said a compliment in public was harassment. They said smiling at a woman on the street could be considered assault. They made entire social media campaigns with hashtags telling men to stay in their lane and never ever approach a woman who didn't explicitly ask for it. And you know what men did? We listened. For once in human history, men collectively took women at their word and did exactly what they demanded. We left them alone. Completely. And now that the silence is deafening, they want to renegotiate the terms. Too late. The contract was signed the moment men realized peace was possible without female chaos. Let me take you back a few years so you can see how perfectly this trap was set. Men used to approach everywhere. Grocery store, bookstore, gas station, gym, park, didn't matter. A man saw a woman he found attractive. He walked over, introduced himself, and took his shot. 9 times out of 10, he got politely rejected, but that 10th time could change his life. That was the old school masculinity in action. And women, fueled by online feminism and the endless validation loop of social media, decided that even that one approach out of 10 was too much. They wanted zero. They wanted to be left alone unless they were in the mood to be approached. And even then, only by men who already looked like 6'2", made six figures, and looked like a Marvel character. So they weaponized shame. They started pulling out phones and recording men mid approach, calling them creeps for the crime of saying, "Excuse me, I thought you were cute. Can I get your number?" Those videos racked up millions of views with captions like, "Another day, another weirdo harassing me in public." Men watched those videos, saw good dudes with jobs and clean records get labeled predators for smiling, and thought, you know what? I'm out. I'm not signing up to be the villain in somebody's viral moment. So they stopped. Then the rules kept changing. It wasn't enough to not approach in public. Men were told not to message first on dating apps either, because that was aggressive. But if you waited for her to message first, you were low effort and not a real man. Men were told to plan expensive first dates, but also not expect anything physical because that made them entitled. They were supposed to pay for everything to prove they could provide, but also never mention providing because that was toxic masculinity. Every possible move a man could make was wrong. The goalposts weren't just moving, they were on rocket boosters flying into outer space. So men did the only rational thing left. They logged off. They deleted the apps. They stopped planning the dates. They stopped offering to buy the drinks. They put the wallet away and walked away from the table entirely. And here's the part nobody wants to say out loud, but everybody knows is true. Once men got a taste of peace, there was no going back. When you remove female drama from your life, your stress levels plummet. Your bank account grows. Your weekends become yours again. Your phone stops blowing up with nonsense at 2 a.m. Your circle gets tighter and more solid because it's only guys who actually add value. Men discovered something women never expected. We don't need women nearly as much as women need us. Not for sex, not for validation, not for anything. The moment men made peace with being alone, truly alone, not lonely, just alone, the spell women had over us for centuries shattered like cheap glass. Women genuinely believed that men would never walk away because men have always needed sex and always feared being alone. They thought those two things were permanent handcuffs. But a funny thing happened when sex became available on demand through apps and loneliness got cured by purpose, brotherhood, and personal growth. Men realized neither handcuff was real. The desire for sex didn't disappear, but it became negotiable. You mean to tell me I can either deal with never ending drama, financial extraction, false allegations, and walking on eggshells, or I can open my phone, swipe for 30 minutes, and get my needs met with zero commitment? Or even better, I can just not swipe at all, keep my money, keep my peace, and go fishing with the boys instead? That's not even a choice, that's a layup. So men chose themselves. Millions of us, quietly. No press conference, no manifesto. We just stopped showing up. We stopped orbiting. We stopped simping. We stopped paying for OnlyFans. We stopped liking every selfie. We stopped commenting queen under every post. We left the bars early or didn't go at all. We put the headphones in at the gym and kept our eyes on the barbell instead of the leggings. We became ghosts, and women felt it immediately. But they didn't understand what was happening because nobody announced it. One day the attention was just gone. Now they're panicking. Rent is due. Groceries are insane. Inflation is crushing everyone. And for the first time in modern history, there's no default male provider lining up to rescue them from the consequences of their own ideology. The women who bragged about being independent and not needing a man are now on camera crying that they can't make it on one income. The same women who said, I am the table, are now realizing the table has no chairs because every man brought his own chair and took it with him when he left. And the best part? Men aren't angry anymore. That's what terrifies them the most. We're not raging in the comments. We're not begging them to take us back. We're calm. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. We're happy. We're lifted heavier, making more money, traveling cheaper, and sleeping better than ever. The anger burned off years ago. What's left is pure clarity. Let me paint the picture even clearer for you. There's a woman right now, probably in a major city, dressed to the nines on a Saturday night, hair laid, lashes on, outfit that cost more than most men's rent, standing in the middle of a packed club with her friends. The DJ is dropping the hottest track of the year. Bottles are popping at the tables around her, and yet nobody, not a single man in that entire building, is walking up to her. She's posting stories with the caption, "Where are all the men at?" while literally surrounded by hundreds of them. And the answer is staring her right in the face. The men are there, but they're not approaching. They're standing with their boys, sipping their one drink slowly, talking about the gym, crypto, cars, business, anything except the women dancing 10 feet away. They're not mad. They're not scared. They're just uninterested. That woman will go home alone, open TikTok, and record another tearful video about how men ain't men no more, completely blind to the fact that men finally became the exact version of themselves that women spent 2 decades demanding, distant, non needy, outcome independent, and completely unbothered by female approval. Congratulations, ladies, you won. You created the emotionally unavailable man you always complained about, and now you get to live with him forever, except he doesn't want you either. And don't think this is just happens in clubs. Walk into any high-end grocery store on a Sunday afternoon. You'll see attractive women in yoga outfits pushing carts, subtly positioning themselves in the produce section, pretending to examine organic avocados for 20 minutes, waiting for a man to say something, anything. Crickets. The men are in the store, heads down, headphones in, grabbing their chicken breast and protein powder, paying and leaving. No eye contact. No, excuse me, do you know where the almond milk is? Nothing. The women are practically vibrating with frustration, and the men don't even notice because they're listening to a podcast about stoicism or real estate investing. That is the new normal. Women became invisible to the exact men they spent years training to ignore them. And the irony is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Now, here's where the story gets really interesting. A lot of these women genuinely believed that when times got hard, when rent doubled, when groceries hit $10 for a loaf of bread, when the economy started squeezing everybody, that men would instinctively ride back in on white horses to save the day. Because that's what men have always done for thousands of years. Men have always put their bodies between women and danger. Men built the houses, fought the wars, worked the dangerous jobs, paid the taxes, and handed the surplus to women and children first. That was the biological contract. Women traded loyalty, support, and peace for protection and provision. But feminism spent 50 years telling women they didn't need to hold up their end anymore. Be loud, be difficult, be independent, sleep with whoever you want, keep the kids in divorce court, take half the assets plus child support plus alimony, shame men for wanting traditional roles, and still expect the provider to show up with flowers on Valentine's Day. And men watched this happen to their fathers, their brothers, their best friends, and one day they all looked at each other and said, "Why are we still doing this?" The moment that question got asked by enough men at the same time, the entire system collapsed overnight. Because here's the part nobody in the mainstream wants to admit: men don't actually need relationships to survive. We never did. Society needed men in relationships so that women and children could survive. Men could always go live in the woods, hunt, fish, build a cabin, and be perfectly content. Women cannot. Women have never been able to. Every luxury women enjoy today, every safe neighborhood, every grocery store stocked with food, every Uber that shows up in 4 minutes, every divorce settlement that pays the bills long after the marriage ends, all of it exists because men collectively agreed to keep the machine running. And the second men realized they could opt out and still live better than 99% of humans who have ever existed, they did. They pulled the plug, not with anger, not with protests, just with silence. Think about how insane this is from a historical perspective. For all of recorded human history, men competed brutally for female attention. Wars were fought over women. Empires rose and fell because a king wanted a particular woman or wanted to prove himself to women. Men built the pyramids, sailed across oceans, invented electricity, split the atom, went to the moon, all with the subtext of maybe this will finally make me worthy. And in less than 1 decade, millions of men looked at that same prize and said, nah, I'm good. That has never happened before. Not once. This is bigger than the Industrial Revolution. This is bigger than the internet. This is the single largest behavioral shift in human history. And it happened so quietly that most people still don't even realize it's over. Women are now waking up to the consequences in real time. You can't scroll TikTok for 10 minutes without seeing another "Where Have All the Good Men Gone" video, and every single one of them has the same blind spots. They think men are hiding. They think men are scared. They think men are intimidated by their success, their degrees, their Instagram followers. They think if they just soften up a little, lower their standards a little, post one selfie without the dog filter, the men will come rushing back. They are wrong. The men aren't hiding. The men are at home, grilling steak, playing Call of Duty with the boys on Discord, counting their crypto gains, sleeping 9 hours a night, and laughing at the fact that they used to lose sleep over women who wouldn't even text back. The men are thriving. The men are free. And freedom, once tasted, is impossible to give up. Let me tell you a quick story that perfectly illustrates this new reality. I know a guy, good job, tall, in shape, funny, the kind of man women used to fight over. Last year, he decided to run an experiment. He went out to a popular rooftop bar on a Friday night, dressed sharp, no phone in hand, open body language, the whole playbook. He spent 4 hours there and didn't approach a single woman, not one. He just observed. And you know what happened? Zero women approached him. Zero women even made sustained eye contact. A few glanced over, but the second he didn't immediately walk up and start entertaining them, they went back to their phones and their friends. He left at the end of the night with the same amount of money in his wallet and zero drama in his life. And he told me, bro, I used to spend hundreds of dollars and hours of mental energy trying to get a conversation started. And for what? I stood there doing nothing and still went home alone. Except this time I felt amazing because I didn't degrade myself for it. That's the new standard. Men would rather go home alone at peace than go home with a woman who makes them feel less of a man. And women feel that shift in their bones. That's why the videos are going viral of women saying, I'll settle. I don't need him to be tall anymore. I don't need him to make six figures. Just please somebody ask me out. They're negotiating with ghosts. The men already left the negotiation table. We took our chips and cashed out. There's no amount of I'll cook and clean or I don't want your money that brings the old dynamic back because men finally did the math. Even if a woman brings peace, which almost none do, the legal system is still rigged. The culture still demonizes masculinity, and the juice is no longer worth the squeeze. The risk reward ratio is laughable. Men would literally rather invest in meme coins during a bear market than invest in a modern relationship. This is why you're seeing the rise of what the media calls the loneliness epidemic among women, while men's mental health numbers are quietly improving for the first time in decades. Men are less depressed, less anxious, less likely to end their own lives because we removed the single biggest source of chaos from our lives: modern female expectations. Women, meanwhile, are panicking because they're discovering that independence is expensive, loneliness is heavy, and nobody is coming to save them. The strong, independent woman mask is cracking, and underneath it is a scared little girl who realizes the bill just came due. I want you to really let this next part sink in. Women spent years mocking men for wanting peace and quiet. They called it emotionally unavailable. They said wanting a low drama relationship was low effort. They said men who preferred video games or the gym over chasing women had Peter Pan syndrome. And now those same men have the peace they always wanted, and the women who mocked them are recording crying videos at 2 a.m. asking why nobody loves them. That is poetic justice on a level Shakespeare couldn't dream up. Men walking away isn't about hate. It never was. It's about self preservation. It's about choosing peace over chaos, abundance over scarcity, clarity over confusion. And once a man experiences 6 months of true peace, no arguing, no passive aggressive texts, no wondering where she is at 1 a.m., no explaining why he doesn't want to spend $300 on bottle service just to be ignored, he will never go back. Never. You could line up 10 models in his living room tomorrow, and he'd still say, "Thanks, but I'm good. I've got a gym session in the morning." That's the part women can't process. They still think male attention is like air, something men need to survive, something we'll eventually come crawling back for when we can't breathe without it. Wrong. Men learn to breathe underwater. We built submarines. We don't need the surface air anymore. And the submarines are comfortable, stocked with everything we need, and sailing farther away every single day. Let me take you into the mind of the average woman in 2025 for a minute, because this is where the real psychological meltdown is happening. She wakes up, checks her phone, zero new matches on the apps, even though she lowered her height requirement from 6 foot to 5'9" last month. She gets ready for work, puts on the corporate girl uniform, blazer, heels, the whole armor, walks into the office, and not a single man holds the door, offers to grab her coffee, or even looks up from his laptop long enough to acknowledge she exists. She goes to lunch with her girlfriends, and every single one of them is telling the same story. "Girl, I haven't been on a date in 8 months. I posted a thirst trap and got 40 likes, all from other women and dudes in Nigeria. I literally offered to pay for the first date, and he still said no." By the time Friday rolls around, she's spiraling because the weekend used to mean attention, options, power, and now it just means another 2 days of silence. She opens TikTok and sees 100 other women posting the exact same breakdown, and for the first time in her life, she feels genuine fear. Not the fake fear she used to manufacture to get male attention, real fear. The fear that says, I might actually end up alone forever, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. And the craziest part? She still doesn't understand why. She thinks this is a temporary glitch. She thinks men are just going through something. She thinks if she just waits it out or posts one more video saying, "I'm traditional now, I'll cook and submit," the floodgates will open again. She's waiting for the pendulum to swing back like it always has every other time in history. But this time, the pendulum didn't swing. It broke off the clock and fell into the ocean. There is no swinging back from millions of men simultaneously realizing that peace is better than chaos, that solitude is better than drama, that keeping your money is better than lighting it on fire to impress someone who will never respect you. This isn't a phase. This isn't a protest. This is the new default setting for masculinity. And it's spreading faster than any ideology ever has because it doesn't require meetings, leaders, or hashtags. It only requires men to do absolutely nothing. And doing nothing has never been easier. Now, let's talk about the economy of attention because that's really what collapsed. For decades, women controlled the sexual and romantic marketplace the same way OPEC controls oil. They could restrict supply, drive up prices, and men would pay whatever was asked because the alternative was zero. Women could demand expensive dinners, designer bags, rent money, emotional labor, endless texting, and men paid because the perceived scarcity made us act insane. But then three things happen at once. Dating apps turned sex into Uber Eats, Social media gave every woman princess level validation on demand, and men discovered that peace was the ultimate luxury good. Suddenly, the oil wasn't scarce anymore. Suddenly, women were pumping out supply like Saudi Arabia on steroids, and the price of attention crashed to zero. Men looked at the new market price and said, you know what? I don't even want it for free. That's when the entire system imploded. You can't have a cartel when nobody wants the product at any price. And women are feeling that crash in their bank accounts right now. OnlyFans subscriptions are down across the board. Instagram models are going back to regular jobs. The soft girl era, where women bragged about doing nothing while men paid their bills, is over. Cash App requests in bios are getting laughed at in group chats. The women who built entire lifestyles around male attention are watching the revenue stream dry up overnight, and they have zero skills to replace it because they spent the last 10 years taking selfies instead of building anything real. Meanwhile, the men who used to fund all of that nonsense are buying land, stacking Bitcoin, lifting heavier than ever, and sleeping like babies. The wealth transfer didn't go from men to women this time. It went from women back to men, and it's the quietest, most devastating transfer in history. Let me tell you about another real story that shows how far this has gone. A buddy of mine owns a popular lounge downtown. 2 years ago on a Saturday night, the bottle girls were making $2,000 each in tips because men were competing to look important in front of women. Last weekend, the same lounge, same DJ, same crowd size, the bottle girls made $300 combined. The men at the tables weren't broke, they were just done performing. They ordered one bottle for their own group, drank it slowly, talked business, and left. No popping extra bottles to impress the room, no sending drinks to random tables, no trying to get the DJ to shout them out. They were there to enjoy themselves, not to audition for women who were going to ignore them anyway. The lounge owner told my buddy, I'm thinking about closing on weekends because the energy is gone. That's a business that existed 100% on male thirst. And now it's bleeding out because the thirst is cured. Women are now trying every trick in the book to bring men back. They're posting bring chivalry back videos. They're saying they'll submit. They're claiming they want traditional relationships. They're even starting to dress more modestly in public, which is hilarious because 5 years ago, yoga pants and crop tops were a human right. But here's the problem. Men don't believe them. We've seen this movie before. We know how it ends. We know that the second a man lets his guard down and starts providing again, the mask comes off, the demands start rolling in, and the threat of divorce court looms in the background like a loaded gun. Men have pattern recognition now. We don't care how sweet the carrot looks when we can still see the stick behind your back. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me for 3 generations, and I'm done with the game entirely. And that's why the I'll settle videos are so painful to watch. These women are standing in front of the camera with tears in their eyes saying, I don't need him to be rich. I don't need him to be tall. I just want a good man who will love me. But what they really mean is, I'm terrified of ending up alone, and I'll pretend to lower my standards until I lock someone in. Then I'll go right back to who I was. Men hear that subtext loud and clear. We're not stupid anymore. We've watched our fathers get destroyed. We've watched our friends lose their kids, their houses, their life savings. We've read the horror stories in the group chats. The price of entry into a modern relationship isn't just money and time anymore. It's your entire future on the roulette table with the house always winning. No sane man is spinning that wheel. So women are left with 3 options no previous generation ever had to face. Option 1, stay single, keep the career, keep the cats, keep pretending it's empowering while quietly falling apart inside. Option 2, date down dramatically men they would have laughed at 5 years ago. And even those men are starting to say no because they've seen the game too. Option 3, move to another country where the dynamic hasn't shifted yet, which is why you're seeing a flood of Western women trying to lock down men in Colombia, Brazil, Philippines, anywhere the message hasn't fully spread. But even that window is closing fast. The internet is global. The truth travels at light speed now. There's no safe haven left. Meanwhile, men are living better than any generation before us. We're eating ribeyes we grilled ourselves instead of $80 pasta we didn't want just to keep a conversation going. We're traveling to Thailand for 2 weeks on what used to be one fancy date. We're buying toys, motorcycles, guns, land, tools, things that actually bring joy instead of headaches. We're building brotherhoods deeper than most marriages ever were. We're mentoring younger guys so they never make the same mistakes we did. We're becoming the uncles and big brothers our fathers never had to be too busy providing to be. This is the male renaissance. This is men finally living for themselves after centuries of living for everyone else. And it feels so good that no amount of female tears will ever pull us back. Women are now starting to turn on each other because when the external enemy disappears, the tribe eats itself. You can't scroll for 5 minutes without seeing women calling other women pick-me's for dressing feminine again. They're accusing traditional women of setting the movement back. They're mad at the women who are successfully locking down the few remaining high value men who haven't fully checked out yet. The sisterhood is fracturing because the one thing that united them, unlimited male attention, is gone. And now it's every woman for herself. The mask is off completely. The we're all in this together narrative only worked when there was endless supply to go around. Hard times are here. Jobs are disappearing fast. And if you lose yours, you could be homeless in a few months or even a few weeks. But it doesn't have to be that way. Check out Angry's Creator Academy and learn how to build your own online business using YouTube to grow it. And get the free creator blueprint when you sign up. The link's in description below. Go check it out now. Now that there's scarcity, the claws are out, and it's glorious to watch from the sidelines with a protein shake in hand. Let me show you what the end game actually looks like because we're already living in it, and most people still haven't noticed. Drive through any major city on a Friday night at 11 p.m. The clubs and bars that used to have lines around the block now have security guards standing around with nothing to do. The promoters are sending desperate free entry plus one free drink for ladies texts at 9 p.m. just to get bodies in the door. The bottle service minimums have been slashed in half, and still nobody is buying. The dance floors are 80% women in full makeup taking selfies with each other while 10 guys stand against the wall talking about the UFC fight tomorrow. The DJ keeps yelling, "Make some noise," into a room that refuses to care. That room used to be the center of the sexual marketplace. That room used to be where men went to trade their money, time, and dignity for the tiniest sliver of female attention. Now, that room is a museum exhibit of a dead culture, and the men who used to fill it are at home in gym shorts, eating steak they season themselves, laughing on a Discord call, completely at peace. And it's not just nightlife. Look at dating app statistics if you want cold, hard proof. Hinge, Bumble, Tinder, every single one of them is publicly panicking because male engagement has fallen off a cliff. Men are still on the apps in theory, but they're not sending messages. They're not paying for premium. They're not even swiping right anymore. The average woman now gets 2% of the likes she got in 2019. The average man gets roughly the same number he always got, which was close to zero, except now he doesn't care. The apps introduced women message first features to fix the problem, and women still won't message because they never had to learn how. The entire business model was built on male desperation, and desperation has been cured. These companies are now burning hundreds of millions of dollars trying to figure out how to manufacture thirst that no longer exists. Good luck with that. Look at marriage rates if you want the nuclear level proof. They are in free fall in every Western country. And it's not because men can't find wives. It's because men looked at the contract, read the fine print, saw the 50% divorce rate initiated by women, saw the family court horror stories, saw the alimony and child support traps, saw that she gets the house, you get the debt default setting, and collectively said, hard pass. Men are now asking the one question nobody was allowed to ask for 70 years. What exactly do I get out of this deal that is worth risking everything I will ever earn? And for the first time in history, there is no answer that makes sense. Companionship? We have brothers. Sex? We can get that without losing half. Children? We can mentor the next generation without rolling the dice on paternity fraud or parental alienation. Legacy? We're building businesses, brands, and brotherhoods that will outlive any bloodline. There is literally nothing a modern marriage offers that a man cannot get somewhere else at a fraction of the cost and 0% of the risk. So men stopped proposing. Ring sales are collapsing. Bridal magazines are going bankrupt. Wedding venues are pivoting to corporate events to survive. The entire multi trillion wedding industrial complex is dying in real time because the customer base evaporated. Now, watch what happens next, because this is the part that will go down in history books. Women are about to hit a wall that has never existed before, a wall built out of their own ideology and male indifference. For the first time ever, millions of women in their 30s and 40s are going to be single, childless, and financially unstable with zero safety net because the generation of men who would have traditionally rescued them are younger, richer, happier, and completely unavailable. The women who spent their 20s taking selfies in Mykonos, collecting handbags, and telling men they were trash are now staring at 40 with no assets, no children, no husband, and a resume full of brand ambassador and content creator positions that pay nothing when the attention economy dies. And the men their age or older want nothing to do with them. And the men younger than them are dating women in their 20s who never swallowed the feminist poison. These women are about to become the first generation in recorded history to experience downward mobility on a mass scale with no male providers to cushion the fall. Winter isn't coming. Winter is here, and it's going to last the rest of their lives. You can already see the coping mechanisms firing on all cylinders. They're telling each other, I don't want kids anyway, while secretly crying in the car. They're saying, I love my freedom, while refreshing the dating apps 400 times a day. They're posting men are trash memes while begging those same men to come back in the next breath. They're freezing their eggs at $20,000 a pop, hoping science will save them from biology. They're moving in together in as friends to split rent because none of them can afford to live alone anymore. They're starting wine and charcuterie nights that are really just group therapy sessions where they all lie to each other about how happy they are. And every single one of them knows deep down that the party is over and nobody is coming to pick them up when the lights come on. Meanwhile, the men who walked away are living in what can only be described as a golden age of masculinity. Testosterone levels are mysteriously rising again after decades of decline because stress kills T and peace restores it. Men are lifting heavier, starting companies faster, traveling more, sleeping better, and reporting higher life satisfaction than any male generation in the last 100 years. We're forming tribes again, real tribes, not the fake corporate team building nonsense, but actual bands of brothers who would take a bullet for each other. We're mentoring teenage boys so they never simp, never orbit, never put a woman on a pedestal. We're teaching them game, gym, crypto, business, stoicism, and most importantly, self respect. We're becoming the fathers we wish we had, the big brothers the system tried to erase. We're building parallel societies where female drama is not allowed to enter. And we're doing it all with a smile because anger was the fuel that got us out, but peace is the reward that keeps us out. Women look at this new reality and call it toxic. They call it the manosphere. They call it misogyny. They call it a crisis. They're begging governments to fix it, begging apps to force men to date them, begging therapists to explain why men don't want them anymore. And every time they open their mouths, they prove exactly why we left. The entitlement is still there. The lack of accountability is still there. The belief that male attention is a human right is still there. They still think this is a negotiation. They still think they're the prize. They still haven't accepted the new market price of their presence, zero. Here's the cold truth nobody else will say out loud. Men are never coming back. Not in your lifetime, not in your children's lifetime, maybe not ever. The knowledge of peace has spread too far, too fast. Once a man tastes 6 months of calm, focused, drama free living, the idea of inviting chaos back in for the possibility of sex or companionship feels as insane as volunteering to go back to prison after you've been released. There is no speech, No new law, no amount of shaming, no amount of crying on TikTok, no I'll submit now video will ever be enough. The genie is out of the bottle, the dragon has been slain, the matrix has been exited. Pick your metaphor. It's over. Men have discovered that the ultimate luxury is a life without female chaos, and luxury, once experienced, becomes the new baseline. So, what happens next? Society either adapts to the new reality where men keep their resources, their time, their peace, and their power, or it collapses under the weight of millions of aging, broke, lonely women who refuse to adapt. My money is on collapse because pride always comes before the fall. And female pride is the most expensive substance on earth. Cities will become playgrounds for men and ghost towns for women. Birth rates will keep plummeting. Economies built on female consumer spending will shrink. Governments will try to tax single men into compliance and only accelerate the exit. A new generation of boys is growing up watching their fathers and uncles live like kings without wives. And those boys will never even consider marriage. The old world is dead. The new world belongs to men who chose peace over performance, freedom over chains, brotherhood over begging. And the most beautiful part, we didn't have to fight for it. We didn't march. We didn't burn anything down. We didn't even raise our voices. We just stopped showing up. We just walked away. We just said no. The most powerful revolution in human history was accomplished with the quietest weapon ever created: indifference. So, to every woman watching this who spent the last decade telling men to leave you alone, congratulations, we did. To every woman crying on social media right now about how lonely you are, we heard you the first time. To every celebrity worth hundreds of millions who can't get a text back, maybe try being pleasant for once. And to every man watching this who still feels that tiny pull to go back, who still checks the apps when he's bored, who still thinks maybe one more chance will be different, look at the piece you have right now and ask yourself if any amount of makeup, any pair of leggings, any promise of submission is worth giving this up. The answer is no. The answer will always be no. What did you think about everything we just went through today? Do you agree that the game is over for good? Or do you think there's any scenario where men return to the plantation? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.